Happy morning and a wonderful evening, Masters. Welcome to today's wisdom sharing and meditation session. So, Masters, today we'll continue with the rest of the chapters from the book Immortal Talks, written by the author Shunya. So, we'll try to revise a little bit from the third chapter because it is one of the most challenging chapters to understand, to be understood. So, it has linked towards the fourth chapter and later to the fifth chapter also. So there are total six chapters. So we'll finish half of the fourth today. So before I go or we discuss further into fourth chapter, we'll go through the third chapter once. So as we have discussed earlier in the third chapter, Hanumanji gave an underlying sublime message with respect to the concepts of karma, desire, the understanding towards this illusion, this Maya, T timelines, Shunya tunnels, and all these are explained in this particular third chapter. So as we'll just brush off the third chapter before we go into the fourth one. So in this third chapter, which is called as describing the undescribable, because in this chapter where we are introduced to a lady called as Urmi, a really young, dynamic woman who is living in Matang tribe. She goes through repeated seizure attacks, or she has repeated what we call as fits or epileptic attacks since the childhood. And Urmi, being so naive as a soul, so compassionate, she always wonders that what is happening with her. You know, she has not gone out of her devotion towards her almighty Hanuman, or she always have been a compassionate soul. She wanted to know what was this one thing that has been hurting her so much that she's going through this physical and mental trauma, pain, and suffering every time when that epileptic attack was happening to her. So while she was wondering and all these thoughts were coming to her, at the sublime or at the astral level, we see that the Ashwin twins, the physicians to God, um, those powerful as a physicians. They're already working on Urmi, but they were unable to help Urmi because every time Urmi was going through this attack, even from the childhood itself, they were trying to. They always appear even before Urmi has that attack, and they wanted to help Urmi, but they could not find a solution for that. And every time for them, it was a fight with the Maya or the illusion, and they couldn't find that one loophole that Maya has hold over Urmi's soul, which is making Urmi to go through such pain and misery. And finally, Hanumanji arrives there, and he scans the entire body of Urmi and gives an understanding or explains to Ashwin twins that he knows what is that one loop that Maya is holding the soul into, this illusion, and he can help Urmi, and they wanted to proceed with the procedure. Here, what Ashwin twins wanted to do is that they wanted to shift the soul of Urmi from the present timeline that she is in, where she's suffering, to an alternate timeline where her body is healthy and she's going through a very fantastic, vivacious life with a healthy body. There is no epileptic attack, nothing. So they wanted to shift the soul from this timeline to an alternate timeline. That's what they wanted to do. But they're unable to do it because Urmi is holding to something and they're not clear what it was. And Hanumanji understands that where the problem is and he wanted to help Urmi. So finally, Hanumanji, Urmi, and Ashwin twins go into the astral plane. And there, Hanumanji starts describing the undescribable. He gives this knowledge via this author Shunya to us, that the way that we see this three-dimensional reality or the universe that we call is very different from a perspective of a higher dimension being. The universe is not about this, planets or solar systems or asteroids, meteors, galaxies. No, the universe is not like this. But for a higher dimensional being, the universe looks more like a string of T timelines around a glowing light. You can imagine that there is a light that is glowing inside a spider web. How would that look? So it was more like that for this entire universe to be seen from a fifth dimension. And he says that I am who Hanumanji is right now in fifth dimension, sees universe in that way. There is no objects, nothing. There is only T timelines, and every timeline has shot by shot scene that is happening there. So Hanumanji, it's as if you're sitting or lounging in your family room and you're watching a movie. And in the movie, the protagonist, the hero, he's born as a kid, he goes to school, and he reaches his adolescent age. He has girlfriends or whatever trauma he might go through that stage. He might lose parents or whatever it is. Then he becomes a adult where he's working for his identity, he's trying to gain money, or he wants to establish an identity in the society, a security. So he goes through his adulthood, he marries or he doesn't marry. Finally, he might have kids, he might not have kids. If he have kids, one of the kid might be really successful, or the other kid might be just, he might be not so successful. And finally, he might have grandkids, and finally a scene comes where he leaves his body. So this is a movie that you can watch lounging in your family room or in your media room, and you watch it on the TV screen. And that's how Hanumanji looks, or for Hanumanji, the entire world looks when he's in fifth dimension. And it's all about T strings, and there are infinite like T strings like that happening everywhere. And there are so many characters at play, and such infinite timelines are happening there. And he says that in this fifth dimension, there is no past, there is no present, there is no future. It's there. There is a timeline there from the start to the finish. So everything is there. So to further explain it to Urmi, the soul of the Urmi, Hanumanji says that you have to come into this state where I am right now to see this. And when Urmi wants to come, she couldn't come. And then Hanumanji says that for you to come into the state where I am right now, you have to be in a state called nothingness, because this is Shunya, this is nothingness. Right now, you are identifying yourself as Urmi. You have the beliefs of Urmi. You have your likes, your dislikes. You have your religious beliefs or your scientific beliefs. You have your attachments towards your people around, or to an object, or to an entity. So all these things are binding you to this illusion or this Maya, and which is not letting you to come out of it. But for you to come from there to here, you have to let go of all these things. Then only you'll be able to come into this state called Shunya. And Hanumanji explains to Urmi that you see yourself as a beam of light so that you can come here. And Urmi starts to work through that what Hanumanji has told, and eventually with the help of Hanumanji, she comes into this state called nothingness. And now she sees the universe with respect to how Hanumanji explained to her that there are all this, timelines, and there is a glowing light in the center, and there are multiple scenes happening, multiple lifelines happening of different people. And there is so huge, so vast, there is no beginning, no ending, and there are infinite such timelines running. And to explain to Urmi furthermore about these timelines and everything, Hanumanji takes Urmi to one of those timelines where a boy called Vaibhav is eating a mango. And there, when Urmi goes there and, she goes into that particular timeline and she wants to enter, she couldn't enter there. And for that particular reason, there is a reason why she couldn't go there, because everything looks blank and she couldn't go there into that scene. And then Hanumanji brings the topic of karma and desire, and he beautifully explains that for you to enter or live a scene, there is two things that are essential for you. And one is karma and one is desire. And you have to wear this dress of karma and desire of that particular scene to go and live that scene. Because right now you are in a state of nothingness, which means you cannot be identified with anything. There is no comparison for you. There is no quality for you. You are not white, you are not black, You are not tall, you are not short, you are not fat, you are not thin. There is no color, nothing. You don't know about anything. You have no experience about anything. How can you go and live a scene without any experience? And for that, Hanumanji explains that for this particular scene where Vaibhav is eating a mango, there are so many scenes that have happened before for Vaibhav to eat that mango, or for me to be sitting here right now talking to you, or for you, the day that you are going through right now, the moment that you are having right now, is because of the consequence of the actions that have happened previously. And what you do right now will determine the actions, or will determine the consequence of your future, how you're gonna be. So this present moment is very important because it will determine your timeline where you want to go. Because right now what you are living is because of the consequence of your past actions. Okay, but how do you want to shift your future? It determines, is dependent on your present. So for there, Vaibhav, who initially started from his house, from a village, who wanted to go to another village by the sunset, and randomly when he was going through the forest, his wheels get stuck in the mud and he couldn't go. He tries his best to move the wheel out of the mud, but he couldn't, and he rests under a tree and he smells the beautiful fragrance of a ripened mango, and that initiates him to go and eat that mango. So all these scenes happened for him to live that scene where he's eating a mango. And even for Vaibhav to eat that mango, he had to experience that mango from the day he was born. The moment he learned the word mango, he touched it, he felt it, he sensed it. All this is an experience that Vaibhav has gained for him to live this particular moment where he is eating a mango. So a soul, for whatever the scene it is living right now, whatever is happening to that soul right now, is determined by his past actions. Not only by that, but also the actions carried by the soul from previous lifetimes also. So all this, what do you say? And further, Hanumanji says that the identity that a soul carries is determined by two pillars, that is karma, and the other one is desire. Here, Hanumanji says that, when you live and experience a scene, you earn a green packet called karma. And when you desire to live a scene, many times right now I'm living and experiencing a scene and I'm doing a karma, I'm doing an action. There are consequences for every action that I'm doing, because the energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, it just needs to be transmuted. So there will be a consequence. And it's a beautiful law by Newton. They say that Newton's third law, where for every action there is equal and opposite reaction. So whatever you give out, you'll receive the same. You give positive, you receive whatever positive. If you give low vibration out, you'll receive the lower vibration frequencies from outside. So whatever karma or whatever action that I'm doing right now, I'm living it and I'm experiencing it. So I'll get a green packet of karma. And there are a lot of things I desire, I want to do, or I want to have in life, which might not be into a reality, which I have not experienced. I would have thought about it, I would have imagined about it, I would have hoped and prayed for that scene to happen, but it might not have happened. So it is one of my desire that is yet to be fulfilled, which means I am yet to experience it. So until it's not experienced, it remains as a red packet. The moment I experience that desire, it becomes an action, it becomes a green packet. So Hanumanji says that you take any person, if you ask me, at the spiritual level, the identity of a person is determined of what a person is determined by the karma that the person has done in this lifetime or in the previous lifetimes as a soul. Because the soul is inside the body. We think that, we are doing it, but it's the soul that is experiencing. It's all about the soul and its experiences. So what the soul has gathered in all its lifetime and what the soul is doing right now, all its actions and all its desires are nothing but the identity of that person. So for that, Hanumanji further says that, there is this concept. I mean, here they were trying to shift the soul of Urmi from one timeline to other timeline. So this is all the knowledge that they are giving. And I don't know, I think there's a movie called Everything, Everywhere, All at a Time. It is a recent movie. It's a Hollywood movie. The movie is little gross, but I think there's no other movie that has shown multiple timelines. So in this, I wanted to explain you this because this is something that will go with the other chapter that we are discussing here. Because here Hanumanji says, or whatever they're trying to do with the Urmi soul, Hanumanji is trying to explain about T timelines. He says that, a person here in that movie, there is a woman, you might call it as Lucy or whatever the name you can give. That woman in a timeline that she is right now, she's very depressed, she is running a laundry store and she's going with some tax issues and everything. So she's basically very depressed woman who is not fulfilled with her life. What happens is that this lady, when she was in her young age, she loves a boy and she goes against her parents' will and gets married to the boy, and she shifts from Korea to US, and there she establishes a business where she's running a laundry store. This is one of the sequence of a life that is happening to this lady called Lucy. Now there is an alternate timeline where she comes to know that there are multiple versions of her in different universes. And in another timeline, what happens is that she is a Kung Fu master. And how did she become a Kung Fu master is, instead of getting married to her boyfriend, she listens to her father and she stays back and she doesn't elope, she runs away with her boyfriend. And one day while she was going or coming from her tuition or from her college, few people attack her and one person come and saves her, and she later comes to know that this is a lady who is a Kung Fu master, and she gets a motivation that she also have to be a Kung Fu master and she needs to protect herself and all those things, and she gets trained under her. Yeah, the movie's name is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. So in the second timeline, what happens is that instead of running away with her boyfriend, she stays back. She trains under this Kung Fu master who has helped her from a mob attack, and she trains extensively in Kung Fu and she becomes a Hollywood star. She's a big star in Hong Kong or China or somewhere, and eventually she becomes a very big Hollywood star. And there's an alternate timeline where she, meets a person who inspires her to become a scientist, and she becomes a scientist. So like that, there are multiple timelines that were shown to her, and she gets surprised that this is not her only life that she's living, but there are multiple timelines running parallelly to her. And for each timeline to run, there is a concept of karma and desire. How she has done her actions, what her desires are determining her timeline there. So here she did an action where she took a decision to go with her boyfriend, and she had a deep guilt in her that she couldn't convince her father, and there is a lot of gap between her and father. There's so many things that she was carrying. And in the other timeline, her karma is different. In other timeline, her karma is different. So different timelines, and she's living as a different person. So it's a beautiful movie that explains that there are multiple timelines, multiple universes, and multiple things are happening around us, which we are not aware. So in that concept, Hanumanji explains that there is a timeline where Urmi is there and she's living in the same Matang tribe, but her body is healthy there. So all they want is to shift this soul from here to there. That is the one thing they wanted to do. So this is all about the timelines. So when Urmi further asks that, okay, I understand about these timelines and everything. Now, how do I get out of this timeline? Please give me that knowledge and wisdom. And then Hanumanji says that it's very easy for the soul to enter into this Maya or this illusion. It thinks it's very easy. But this Maya is so strong, the moment the soul enters into these timelines or this space and time continuum, it starts believing, in the outer world. It starts getting carried away with the illusions of outer world, with the attachments, with the expectations of the outer world. It completely forgets about what it truly is or where it has come from. So in that process, it will start accumulating karma. It will start accumulating desires, because there's a beautiful saying here from Sharda Devi, where, even as long as a man has desires, there is no end for his transmigration or to move away from this karmic cycle. So it is the desire alone that makes him to take one body after another. There will be a rebirth for a man, even if he has even the desire to eat a piece of candy. So our desires make the soul so attached to this Maya, even though we think that how can this be? But there are so many things that are running in our subconscious mind, which we are not at all aware of. We might know what we are thinking consciously at this moment, but there are 100 things that are running in our subconscious mind. So here, even if you have a desire to eat a piece of candy, you will take a birth to eat that piece of candy. That's what it's told. So this karma and desire, unless and until we come out of these shackles, we are under the illusion of Maya, and we keep on running under this whirlpool, and we keep on having birth as a soul. Unless and until we understand what this illusion is, and we constantly work towards it with the help of your higher self or with your own motivation, it becomes very difficult for the soul to come out of it. But there is no rush or there is no hurry, because for the soul, it's all about experience. So for the soul, it's very laid back and it's enjoying the process. But in the human form, we feel a lot of pain and suffering to even go through those things. So ultimately, Hanumanji says that a ordinary soul always, it will forget that, one second. So here Hanumanji says that the ordinary soul will always forget about the inner worlds. Inner worlds means your inner, that we have talking about, the nothingness, the shunya, or you being a soul, all these things. And it will immediately get attached to this outer reality, to this materialistic Maya, and it will start living in that timeline, because it's not ready to let go of things. It's completely attached, and it creates more desires, and it keeps on running in that loop. So it's very important that unless and until you don't get that understanding, you won't start the process. So now Urmi says that I want to come out of my this clutches of this Maya or this karma and desire. Please help me. Then Hanumanji says that I am no one to help you. And as I'm saying, it's very easy for you to let go. Just by hearing, you think that it's very easy. But when it's not at all easy, because I'll say you what, it is as if you're giving a part of yourself. And Hanumanji says that if I ask you to cut your own hand, imagine how difficult it is. So here, when I'm asking you, or when you want to let go of this, whatever the karma and desire packet that will free you from this suffering that you're going through, I'm asking you to let go of your beliefs, your opinions, your attachments to things, and anything that will make you attached to these packets of karma and desire. So giving up those packets are not at all easy, because as if you're giving your identity. So then Urmi says that, okay, now I understand that I'm not that of extraordinary of a soul that I can give off all my karma and desires at one at a time and just come out of this loop. But right now I desire to have a healthy body. That is my desire. I want to have it. And I'm ready to do anything for it. Then Hanumanji says that, now I'm giving all this explanation or understanding to you just because I want you to be prepared to let go of those things. I'll help you in it. I'll do the astral surgery. I know where that karma and desire packets are, where they are coming from. I know everything. I'll take you there. I'll help you in that process. But it is you who have to let go of it. For that, you have to have an understanding towards what this inner world is all about. You can't just randomly go there and let go of it. You need to have some understanding, some knowledge, some wisdom regarding to this. So now the chapter 4 starts. So in this chapter 4, it is named as Strings of Time. So in this chapter, it basically talks about how human birth is designed for spiritual evolution. And each soul grows and evolves at different levels. No two souls are at the same level, and no two souls are experiencing things in the same way. There's a beautiful saying from this book, Buddha's Wife, where Buddha says that there are different doors to enlightenment. There's no one door. Buddha's process is different, Jesus' process is different, Krishna's process is different. All the enlightened masters, you name it, everyone has opened different doors, but they have reached the same point. So each soul grows and evolves at a different level. And in this particular chapter, it shows different levels of soul. So as you say that, soul's journey is about process of evolving consciousness, steadily progressing through different levels and stages of consciousness. So in this particular chapter, before we go to this chapter, there are something with respect to the previous chapter, because here in the third chapter, while Hanuman is telling about describing the undescribable, about karma and desire, we need to understand that anything which becomes a reality which you or me experience have a strings of past attached to it. Every scene that we are living right now, every scene that is happening to you right now, from morning to evening, or even in your past scenes also, we always have two choices. One choice is to live the scene, to experience the scene in different ways with respect to all your sense organs, the people that you're meeting, whatever the emotions that you're going through. You live and experience this scene in all these categories. So the two choices here we need to remember here is that we live the scene, we experience the scene, and we accept the scene, and we move ahead. There is a second choice that happens here, is that you don't accept the scene and you desire that maybe this would have happened in a different way. Maybe I wish I would have had that. I would have had this. You think, you imagine, you hope, you pray. So there's a desire. And you want to change the scene. You are not willing to let go of the scene that is happening. You're not willing to accept the situation, and you remain stuck. So anything which you suffer or feel stuck is a result of your past unaccepted scenes. So if you see carefully your entire timeline of 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, you will find that there are many blockages. The energies are blocked there. You have not released your energies yet with respect to your parents, with respect to your in-laws, with respect to your husband, your children, or you yourself as your friends or your grandparents, whoever the person is or whatever the situation is. If you go from your childhood to the moment that you are in right now, you see yourself on a movie screen. You won't have, there are many scenes that are there where you have not completely accepted it. The energy there is stagnant. You have not released it. There are many blockages where many of your past scenes are stuck. So unless and until you don't release the energy there, the karma and desire packets are stuck there. So that might not show it to you in the present lifetime. It might manifest in your next lifetime, where you have to learn to accept those situations and to release that energy from them. So that is what is happening with Urmi here. She has not released some energy from one of her past lifetimes. She has not accepted some situation, and now she has to understand that situation and relieve it. Sometimes when we go through this concept of forgiveness or gratitude, when we start forgiving the people, because somewhere we are stuck with some situation where we have not accepted what other person has done to you, and we can't let go of that emotion, and we are really stuck there, and that will manifest in different ways in your later part of your lifetime. It will corrupt your thinking process, the choices that you take, because you are vibrating at a lower energy, at a lower frequency. You are not let going of that energy. You're not ready to you're not making space for the new higher energy to come into your being. You're still stuck with that old energy of lower frequency of repentance, anger, jealousy, hatred, and you will be attracting the same situations in your life, because as they say that if we are talking, or when we are talking this in terms of scientific level, at the quantum level, we are all nothing but atoms and molecules vibrating. So we are naturally vibrating at lower frequency. So you will be attracting the same situations. So it's very, very important that for you to make a happy living or go through a very, what do you say, easy pathway, not easy, I would say, but to make your spiritual pathway more contained, it's very important that you have to let go of some things, let go of that energy. You don't need to be clinging to those things because you are not what that character is. You are a soul who was living in that particular person or a scene that is happening. There is no attachment to that character there. That's what Hanumanji is trying to explain. There are infinite number of scenes happening. Vaibhav is eating a mango, Radha is washing dishes, or Radhika is cleaning a house. So the soul just goes there into that particular body and tries to live the scene. You don't own that personality. You're not that. So you have to get that idea. So whatever is happening to you in your life, you enjoy it, you experience it, you learn from those things, from this three-dimensional reality, and you let go. Make sure that you're not attaching yourself to the things when you're leaving this or when the time has come for you to leave the scene. So that is more about that third chapter. So here Hanumanji finally, after giving proper knowledge to Urmi, Hanumanji takes Urmi to a sequence from in her past lifetime, takes the soul of Urmi to one of the timelines, to a particular scene from her past lifetime, which was the root cause for her disease. So here Hanumanji starts narrating that scene to Urmi, and even Ashwin Kumaras are also there. So here Urmi was in her previous lifetime, the soul of Urmi in the previous lifetime was experiencing itself as a farmer's wife. It's inside a human body, and she's a wife of a farmer in a tiny village. And her name is Chandra. And what happened is that once a group of monkeys who were, it's surrounded by forests. So this group of monkeys lost its way to jungle and they randomly ended up in her village. Now in her village, there are this nasty, the author says that there are certain group of children who are very nasty, and some adults also who are not compassionate, and just for their pastime, just they notice this group of monkeys entering or roaming randomly in the village. And now these people, both these children and adults, they take stones and they start beating the monkeys. They start throwing the stones towards the monkeys, and they start chasing the monkeys from one rooftop to another. So even though the monkeys could find some shelter for some time, these people come and start attacking left and right. So the monkeys were really badly injured, and they were in pain, and they were screeching for help. And eventually the monkeys could not find a way out of the village, because these people, like from morning to evening, all they were doing was chasing around the monkeys and beating these monkeys. So for 3 days and nights, they couldn't get anything significant to eat also. The monkeys were literally starving because it was very difficult for them to find the food also. So on the 4th day, these hungry and bruised monkeys, they randomly come up onto the roof of Chandra's house, which is nothing but the soul of Urmi right now, who is in the past was Chandra. So they come onto the house of Chandra. And this Chandra's house is little out of the village. It's little outskirts to the village. And the sun was very hot, and it was also burning on the terrace, on the surface, or on the rooftop of the house. But still, they wanted to stay there because they felt safe for some time, because these people couldn't find these monkeys there. So now what happens is that the Chandra's son, who is 9 years old, he notices that monkeys have come onto the rooftop. So he climbs up to that stairs through the ladder just to see that how these monkeys are, or we have that inquisitive nature as a child. So he just wanted to see them. So he climbed up the ladder, excuse me, and he starts staring at these monkeys. And suddenly one of the monkeys notices Chandra's son. And since the last 3 days, all children and all these adults were like beating these monkeys left and right. So this monkey also felt like it's, again, this child has come to beat or to throw the stone on it. So it suddenly starts screeching or making sound or just to protect itself. Now, seeing that, Chandra's son, who is 9 years old, he becomes a little startled and he suddenly loses the control and he falls from the ladder from the rooftop onto the floor. And he falls directly on his head and he loses the consciousness. Now, Chandra suddenly notices this by hearing the sound of his son. She comes outside shouting, and her husband also comes and he goes and brings the village doctor, who is not authorized as a doctor. He has no knowledge about medicine, but all these people, they just do some random theatrics or gymnastics. You have all these kind of doctors in the villages, so they're called as charlatans. So he brings one of those doctors, and now the doctor is trying to work with the Chandra's son. Now, suddenly this news spreads all over the village, and this, what do you say, people who are beating the monkeys, suddenly they found a motive and they say that, these creatures have almost now tried to kill a child, so they have to be beaten and killed and thrown out of the village. And suddenly this gang reaches Chandra's house and they start beating the monkeys left and right. And Chandra notices this, and she suddenly comes outside and shouts at those people saying that just leave the house, stop throwing stones over the monkeys. When she was telling all these things, she had no conscious thought of saving the monkeys, nor did she have anything to preach the crowd also. She's not trying to preach any good or any wisdom to them. She just told it very naturally that just leave those monkeys alone. Why are you throwing stones? Just get out of the house. And she made sure that every last person who was doing this left her house. And now she went into the house and she's worried about her son, who is right now unconscious, sleeping on the charpoy. And here, the author says that her sympathy for the helpless monkeys was so deep-rooted that it did not disappear even in the hour of crisis. And it was so natural that she didn't do that out of any conscious thought or any expectations. She just told it very naturally. And here the Charlton is trying to do some gymnasts and some theatrics, and nothing is working as of now, because for the villagers, he might be looking like a god because he helps a lot of people. Because these people had so much hope and belief that their disease will be cured instantly or miraculously by this person. This is a placebo effect that works. Sometimes they say that we create our own diseases and we cure our own diseases. There's a beautiful book called Placebo, written by Dr. Joe Dispenza, where he gives multiple cases on how people have cured themselves just by their own belief and their own belief on curing the disease. So that's what was working there with the people in that village. And but here, in the case of Chandra's child, here the patient himself is unconscious. So he doesn't know what's happening. He has lost his consciousness. But the parents were having full faith on the doctor or whatever he's doing, the Charlton, whatever he's doing. So now Chandra was like, there is a discomfort. She's worried whether her child will open the eyes. And there's a area of silence, a silence where there's something wrong that's going to happen. It's not a good silence. That is creeping in her head. And just to deviate herself from what she's going through, she was just going into the kitchen, cleaning the utensils. She started cooking the food as if her child will get up from the state that he is in, and all the three will have their supper together. And in that process, she randomly started cooking, and she took a bowl randomly. She put some food and some fruits on it. Without any conscious thought, she started climbing the ladder, and the same ladder from where her son has fallen down, and she threw the food onto the roof and she just came down. When she was doing all these things, not a single thought crossed her mind about what she has done. What she did was she acted as though the monkeys were her family members, and it was just a daily routine for her. Very daily routine. How do we do our daily routines? That casually she did it. And again, she came down, she came back to her kitchen, and she was so busy doing her other work just to deviate her mind from the thought that her son might might die. She didn't want to put the thought there. So she was just deviating herself. And in that process, she didn't even realize, or she didn't have an idea that she has performed the greatest act of kindness. And that is precisely why it was greatest. Because this seemingly small act of hers, where she has fed food to these monkeys who are actually responsible for her son to be fallen from the ladder and who was actually fighting for his life and death on the other side. She didn't even think anything. Randomly, she was doing her compassion was very inquisite, very, very natural. And this seemingly small act of hers sent tremors to the entire establishment of time and space. They were felt by those who are beyond time and space. The vibrations were so strong that even the devas and gods had to look for this character called Chandra among the many timelines that are running there. And the immortal Lord Hanuman, who was actually meditating somewhere in the jungle at that moment, he woke up to that vibration and he asked Kala, the time, the god of time, did you feel the same vibration I have felt, Kala? A human soul has attained godhood somewhere. Tell me who this monk whose penance has yielded his results. Then Kala said that it's no monk, it's just an ordinary woman. Her name is Chandra. And she's an ordinary housewife. And all she did was she just gave some food to the hungry monkeys who are on her rooftop. Then Hanumanji said that, no, this vibration doesn't come often. It happens once in like many times, many years in your three-dimensional timeline. So they can't be, I think they can't be any ordinary monkeys. I think they should be my disciples. They should be some Matang tribal monkeys. Then Kala says that no, the Matangs have no connection with the farmer's wife we are talking about. And Kala also says that forgive me for saying this, but I see nothing out of the ordinary in what she did. And then Kala shows the entire timeline to Hanumanji. Just see for yourself what the sequence or the scene was all about. Then Lord Hanuman went back in time and saw the sequence of the scene that has happened in Chandra's house. And he understood that they were just ordinary monkeys. But the Chandra's act was extraordinary and godly. Chandra considered the monkeys as her family merely because they were under her roof. And even despite the tragedy that they have caused in her life, she did not have any blame or any kind of repentance or any anger towards these animals or these monkeys. The acts, and he beautifully says here that usually the acts of kindness are done by ordinary human beings. When we do the act of kindness, that is somewhere is triggered by a thoughtful calculation of what benefit that you get in terms of karma. Or either you do that act of kindness to be so boastful about you. You're just inflating your ego. You get a pride from that. And we also say that I'm very satisfied because I'm done this. And this pride, this satisfaction lingers with you for a long time. But Chandra did it as though it was very routine. It was an ordinary task. There is no attachment, no expectations, no satisfaction, no pride, no thoughtful calculation that I'll maybe having good karma out of it, nothing. And when Hanumanji says this to Kala, then Kala says that maybe she's a very sincere devotive to you. You know, we have all our Ishta where we completely surrender to them. There is no question, nothing. Complete surrender. Maybe she is one of those devotives of yours. Then Hanumanji says that yes, she is a devotive to me, but the place or the time right now that is happening, or the place that she is living right now in the village, there these women are not allowed to pray to Lord Hanuman because he is considered to be what do you say? Spinster. I mean, I say that Hanuman doesn't get married or something like that. So women are not allowed to get pray to Hanuman. There is a belief system right now that is there in the village that she is in right now. So then Hanumanji says that she is devotive to me by her actions. Yeah, brahmachari. Yeah, thank you. So Hanumanji is brahmachari. So women are not allowed to pray. So there is a belief system right now in her village. So she doesn't pray to me, but she's a devotee of me. She believes in me because of the Ram, Sita, Ramayana and everything. Hanumanji is believed to be a god and respected in that way, but she never prayed to me. But she is a devotee to me by her karma, by her actions, not by the rituals that she do. She doesn't get up in the morning, sits there and start, reading Hanuman Chalisa 1,000 times and not doing her actions accordingly. She is a devotee to me by her actions, not by her rituals. And when I'm going back past in the time, when I see her, whatever she has done, there are no calculations or thoughtful calculations for the benefits of dharma. So if or a thought has not came in her mind that if she will give food to the monkeys, then the god is going to save her. Nothing. She did it very randomly, very, very out of pure compassion. And when this talk was happening, Kala says to Hanumanji that, okay, now I understand, but I'm trying to calculate this timeline where it looks like the soul from the body of the boy is going to leave forever in exactly 6 hours and 30 minutes. And I can see the shadow of death looming around the house. Then Hanumanji says that no, he will not die. And he immediately disappears from the jungle. And Lord Hanuman appears in the house of the Chandra. He where the Charlton is trying to do some whatever, I don't know what he's doing for himself also, he doesn't know what he's doing. And he tries to observe the body of the boy. He's trying to see the soul, the timelines and everything. And meanwhile, the Ashwin twins also appeared there. And they are on the either side of the boy, and they started to do their work. And after some time, they told Hanumanji that we have successfully healed whatever the brain injuries that were happened to the boy because of the fall. There might be some hematoma or blood or bleeding that would happen internally, because externally there was no wound. So Ashwin twins have worked at the internal human body level. They fixed whatever the bleeding that was happening. Now the boy is completely healthy, but he's unconscious because the soul refuses to come back and stay in the body, because now the soul has already started to build connections towards its next birth. And the boy's soul is not in pain because it has already come out of the illusion that it is right now in that boy. And it is right now somewhere in the dream sequence trying to connect with the other life. It is preparing for itself. So it was about to move into another body where it would have a completely different set of parents and completely different set of life. And once it is moved into the next birth, it would not even remember about Chandra, about anything else from the past birth. So the soul from the boy is somewhere stuck in the middle, and it is trying to connect more with the future or the probable next lifetime. And it's not ready to come into the boy's body now. Now, Ashwin twins says that the pain here, whatever is happening, because the soul is pain, is out of the pain. It is all good. Now, the pain here is entirely to Chandra's, because she was not ready to lose her child. And Chandra knows her child through her physical body only, through the physical body of the child, not at the level of soul. So it didn't matter which soul entered the body. She would consider it as her child as long as the boy laughed, played, listened to her mother, eat whatever her mother had fed to him. So till that only the Chandra is worried about. So which soul is coming and living in the body, that is none of the business, or Chandra don't even know that. So now the task of Lord Hanuman was to either bring that soul back, or to bring some soul or convince some soul to come into this body of the boy. And it is always, when there in the past or in whatever in the we don't go with the timelines, but there are many situations where gods or where these ascended masters or these higher beings have called upon some spare souls to occupy soulless bodies when it is required. And that has happened many times for the welfare of mankind, for some really good thing to happen, where we talk about walk-ins or all these kind of situations. Sometimes the soul. Okay. So there are many situations in the universe or in this three-dimensional realities that have happened where the higher beings or the ascended masters have called souls to take space or to start living a physical body. This kind of situations have happened for the welfare of mankind. Sometimes even with Patri sir, they say that, there's a higher soul, or Maitreya Buddha has walked into the soul of, into the body of Patri sir. There is an exchange of soul that has happened, which Patri sir himself have told. So such kind of situations have happened where those things are done by these higher beings for the welfare of mankind, where there is a service that is being seen that is helping mankind in a larger level. But here we are talking only with respect to one family. So the protocol that is there or the laws of universe should always be followed. So the protocol dictated here that whatever the Hanumanji is trying to do, he has to do at the level of human. It has to come under the universal laws. He can't go out of it, because whatever he's trying to do, it's not for the welfare or the for a bigger picture. It is for one soul to prevent the pain or suffering that the soul is about to go through. This happens for many of us in many situations, that our ardent devotion to whatever deity or mighty or to a higher self. There are many scenes that would have happened, but they took a U-turn and, we are at a better place. We all would have got our own stories. So at the astral level, there's so much work, so much attention that is given to us. If we are also expressing the same compassion towards our rest of the humankind, and we are not expecting or we are not doing things out of any expectations or out of any satisfaction. So when we are at that level, definitely our masters will do their best to help us, whoever it is. It might be your guardian angels or your higher self. They're always ready to help you. They will. Here you'll see how Hanumanji works so much, so that this one soul who has done so much act of compassion, which has created vibrations in the in the world of ascended masters. He goes so much to the extreme level that Chandra doesn't go through that suffering of losing the child. So we are always protected in that way. All we need to have is faith, patience, and utmost devotion, and do the karma yoga part. Do the karma or the action. Be the devotive to your higher self or to the God that you believe in by your actions, but not by your rituals or not by any expectations or attachments. So immediately Hanumanji scans through the inner worlds. He goes into the timelines. He starts scanning the entire timelines. And there he watches that in about 6 hours, Chandra is right now in a timeline where she's entering into a tunnel where a tragic scene is going to happen. She will lose her son. Her son is going to die. And for the rest of her life, she's going through a lot of pain and suffering. And Lord Hanuman's task was to do something within that 6 hours time frame to get her son a soul. And that would ensure that she will not enter into that tunnel, but she will take a straight left turn and enter into an alternate timeline. So in that timeline, her son is healthy and she's happy with whatever it is. Now, Lord Hanuman explains about different timelines here. He says that human birth happens between level 6 to timelines between T6 to T14 time strings are there between each human, and that's how the soul evolves. So each soul evolves from a timeline of T6 to T14. And since we are energy, it means that we all are vibrating at a certain frequencies. So how are we vibrating at that certain frequencies? It is our karma, our desires, our emotions, our beliefs, everything will create a frequency. So each person like me, Ravli, the soul inside Ravli, is vibrating at a different frequency. The soul inside Disha ma'am is vibrating at a different frequency. So each soul has its own karma and desire packets, and each of them are vibrating at a different frequency, and each of them have different time strings. So he says that the souls that own 6 T strings are called monkey souls. We would consider them as the very, very young souls or a baby souls. And they haven't yet started on the path of devotion or towards the path of liberation, because Hanumanji here says that the journey of a soul from the point it has started to experience itself to that last stage, or to culminate itself to that shunya, it goes through different it is given different names like baby soul, adult soul, matured soul. It depends on the experiences that he has gained. So any path that takes a soul towards the liberation, or you call it as moksha, it will fall into one of the 3 categories. It falls into the category of devotion, the knowledge, or the mixture of devotion and knowledge. Like we say that, for you to go through liberation, there are 4 types of yogas, like karma yoga, dhyana yoga, raja yoga, or bhakti yoga. So you attain liberation by doing your karma, by your actions. You can attain liberation by your devotion. You can attain liberation by raja yoga, that is meditation and all those things. And so these 4 yogas are told in that way. So liberation can be attained in different methods, either through devotion, through knowledge, or through a mixture of devotion and knowledge. So he says that the first soul, when it begins, it has 6 T strings, and these kind of souls, they haven't yet started on the path of devotion, or they are not at towards the path of liberation. They have no idea about it. They will only respond to basic desires like food, like security, like having kids, looking after your kids, worrying about them, and all those things. So these are the 3 priorities that they have: earning money, securing about your life, or more worried about your food, your progeny, and your security. There's so much fear for existence. And yes, lower 3 chakras. So the soul that has 7 T strings, they are just beginning in the path of devotion. So these souls, they will try to, subscribe to a belief system. That belief system can be reason-based, like science or philosophy, or it can be with respect to any religion. They might call themselves as atheist. They will say that humanity is the only religion, or they might be just starting to explore spirituality. They are not deep into it also. They're just over the surface. So Hanumanji says that every normal human being that you take up, every normal human being will have a minimum of 7 T strings. Because in a way, every human being will subscribe to a belief system, which they might be aware of it, they might not be aware of it. But there is a belief system that they believe in. Now, there are souls that have 8 T strings. They have little advanced up towards the path of devotion. They not only believe in a thing that they are associated with. They have a belief system, and they also gather with the similar community of people who have their same beliefs. So they form a community where they feel safe because they are also believing the same thing. So a community or a gathering of people where they believe in a same belief system, like there are Vaishnavites, there are Shivites, a belief that Vishnu is the I'm not saying it in other way, but this is a belief system that they strongly believe in. So now the souls that own 9 T strings, they are more advanced in the path of devotion, and they will start they'll go ahead and they'll start making sacrifices. They'll be doing a little bit of service with their wealth, with their possessions. They'll be donating cattle. Whatever their gurus or their mentors will say, they'll do it. So in that way, they'll go a step ahead and they'll be extensively working towards this service of, donations and all those things for their own satisfaction, because they believe in it. And now there are souls that have there are souls that own about 10 T strings. They are in a higher level of devotion or towards the path of liberation. Now they're so confined to their own community of belief system that they don't even talk to other people also. They don't believe that these people are right. So they are very, very orthodox in their own belief system. And they avoid all kind of distractions, and whatever they believe in, they donate in their own cult or own belief or own group that they are in. And whatever it is in their belief or whatever, both scientific or both religious or spiritual also. Some people say that I like Osho more, I don't understand Paramsa Yogananda more. So it's their own belief. They are very other to that belief. So souls that own 11 T strings, they have gained so much experience and strength in their belief system, and that they stop avoiding these other people, because earlier they would avoid because they don't know how to counter them, because they are yet to attain that argumentative knowledge. So these people, they will stop avoiding or start countering the other belief systems. They'll say that you are wrong, I'll debate with you. They'll start building arguments, and they'll have opposing views. So they declare that their belief system is right and it's the supreme truth, and they'll dismiss every other belief system. They're very strong. They have complete knowledge in what they're believing, and they're ready to go head on with an argument also. Now, souls that have on 12 T strings, they come across, successfully countered so many other belief systems, and they are very confident that what they are believing in. And if they feel that if there is something that cannot be explained, or if that does not have any explanation, they say that that explanation is yet to come, and they start seeing their gods and ideas in every phenomena they witness. They are very strong in their belief. And souls that own about 13, yes, it's not superstition, but it's their belief. We can't say it is superstition, but it's more of their belief. That's it. So souls that own 13 T strings, they don't feel they are at a stage where they have got so much experience in their life that they don't feel that they need to give any kind of explanation to anyone, or they don't take any effort to convince any other person, because they see that the entire world is a beautiful manifestation of God and beautiful creation of this all that is, or whoever that person is. And they believe that everyone is one. I am related to all other person. I don't need to explain anything. I don't need to convince any other person, because we are all one. A sense of that feeling that everything is created by God. So whom should I argue with? What should I argue with? There is no black, there is no white. Everything is same. And the souls that have 14 T strings, these souls, they will split into two souls. He says that 14 soul that has 14 T strings, it will split itself into two souls, each 7 each. So what happens is that they act as a mirror image of each other, and they both will live in the same body in harmony. So if one part of the soul is so engrossed in the outside, that is the materialistic or this illusionary world of Maya, the other soul that is there, the other part that is there, it will show the mirror to it, that see how we are reacting to things. This happens to many of us, that, when we are getting emotional to a situation or reacting to a situation, suddenly our inner starts speaking to us, saying that, no, what did you do? How did you react? This is not the way that you should do. Check yourself, check yourself. It will show the mirror, see how you behaved. Is this the right way to behave? How can you be so rude to the person? Or how can even, so there is a other thing inside us that is telling us, that is speaking to us. So one side, the soul, one part of the soul is experiencing this external reality. The other part of the soul is showing you as a mirror. See, check yourself. See, this is how you're reacting. So this soul with 14 T strings is a higher level soul. It has so much experience that its soul is divided into two parts. One is seeing the external world and the other is aligned to the internal world. So here Hanumanji gives a beautiful explanation about a devotive called Srujana. For an instance, this Srujana is frustrated due to the work pressure. And she has two souls. She is a soul that is having 14 T strings. And somehow in her day-to-day life, one day she gets frustrated with the work, the pressure that she's going at the work. And since she has having 14 T strings, her soul is divided into two parts, right? It has two souls. One is 7 and the other is 7. One is seeing the external reality, this Maya, this illusion, and the other is acting as a mirror image. So the first soul experiences the emotion of frustration in fullest of its intensity. The soul lives through that first frustration. It experiences that emotion of frustration. The second soul, or the second part of the soul, at the same time, it will start showing the mirror to the first one, which helps to realize Srujana that she is merely a character that she is living. It is the character that is frustrated, not the soul in itself. So this character has work, some work is pending, and she has not finished it due to various reasons. And that's why that frustration is coming out of it. But it's not the soul that is going through, because the soul has come from the state of shunya, a state of nothingness. So that's how the soul will say that this is not you, this is not you. It's okay, you can work it better. There's nothing, you are not going through this frustration, this is not worth it. So inner talks keep coming from the soul of Srujana. So similarly, that's how Hanumanji starts explaining for the soul who has 14 T strings. So these is the 14 T string souls. They have two souls living in the same body. It's like two people living in the same house, and they both will complement each other. That complement and that understanding, or that part of the soul showing a mirror, will help ultimately the soul to return to nothingness, and eventually to moksha, freedom from this cycle of birth and death. So the journey of the soul from the 7 T strings to 14, it will definitely does not go smoothly as it sounds, because it all depends on the vehicle of the belief system it subscribes to. It all depends on the human being, its mental, emotional body, its karma and desire packets. Basically, its identity, the belief that it carries. So this belief system that the soul has will direct the soul from 7 T strings to 14 T strings. So Hanumanji says that any path that the soul takes towards liberation or moksha falls in one of these three categories: the devotion, the knowledge, the mixture of devotion and knowledge. So eventually Hanumanji scans through the soul of Chandra, and he finds that the Chandra soul has 13 T strings. And he thought of a possibility of splitting the soul so that one part will be with the Chandra and the other part of the soul will enter into the physical body of her son. And Hanumanji starts discussing this idea with Kala. And but what happens here, we need to understand that when if the soul of Chandra, which is having 13 T strings, if you divide into two, it will be 7 and 6. So if we know that from this description of Hanumanji, that if a soul is 6 T strings, it's more like, not that matured of a soul. So its understanding towards reality will be very different, very basic, very raw. So Kala says that the idea is good, but in order to save the child, either the child will be, disabled mentally, or the Chandra is going to be disabled mentally, and that is not good of an idea, because just because you want to save the child, one or the other person is going to suffer for the rest of the life. And even though if the soul is ready to split also, we might need the help of Ashwin Kumaras to do the process, and that will also be against the universal laws. Please check it. So Kala says about this, and immediately Hanumanji turns around and asks Ashwin Kumaras that, did I ask you to come here? Then Ashwin Kumara says that we are obliged to come when a soul who has a karma like Chandra's soul. And Hanumanji did not intervene here. We came naturally and by the law of universe. So then Kala says that yes, Chandra's soul is very powerful, because possessing 13 T strings is not an easy feat. And eventually when this discussion was happening, and Hanumanji says that he says that we can work in another way, that if we can check for a monk who might be able to connect with the boy and who's ready to give a part of its C strings or a part of the soul. So they were checking if there is any monk nearby that would help them, who could reach this place within the 6 hours, who would connect with the soul of the boy and help in that transition. And Kala says that yes, there is a monk who is in a nearby village, but I doubt that he'll reach this place in 6 hours. And depending on the information given by Kala, Hanumanji again goes into the inner world and he starts scanning the T timelines. And Hanumanji says that I don't see any problem here, Kala, because I see a timeline. I see a tunnel, which is about 6 hours from here, in which I see a scene where the central character named Chandra is happy, her child has recovered, and I can see a monk in that scene. And we are taking Chandra's soul from this timeline to that timeline. And the monk has already arrived the scene well within the time. So that timeline is something which we should aim. We should take the soul of Chandra from this timeline to that timeline. So let us work around it. Now Kala says, or the god of time says, I understand that you're seeing that particular timeline, but there is also another timeline parallel to it, where the monk has not reached the scene, and we both are present there. And we are waiting for the arrival of the monk, and the soul of the boy has left the body completely, and Chandra is crying. So for that, Hanumanji says that, don't worry, Kala, we won't let Chandra's soul go into that timeline. Let us do what is necessary. And now Hanumanji starts his work. And what all he does, we'll go into the next session. So I think it's a little longer today, but this is an interesting topic, and it talks a lot about karma yoga and how, when we do the karma yoga part, how the entire universe works towards us, helps us in all possible ways. No matter, it might be a small compassionate act without any expectations, without any attachments towards good karma or towards feeling nice or towards doing something towards our pride. Nothing, just as casually as you're doing it, without expecting any fruits out of it. So this is all about this chapter that we have discussed. So any sharing or anything that you want to add, please do. Then we'll go into a 10 minutes meditation, masters.
Hi, Ravi, ma'am. This is Disha here.
Oh, hi, Disha, ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to ask you a question. Yeah. And this book is like we should read more than one time. That's what I feel. It's a very intense, and but it is clearing lots of things to me about dreams and many things. So my question is, as the person has what's her name? Chandra's first birth.
Urmi.
Urvi, yeah.
Hmm.
So she is having epilepsy.
Yeah.
So as you are a doctor, can you elaborate the epilepsy, like what it is in a medical term?
Okay. So they say that our body is nothing but an electric harbor or an electric station. So every time when our neurons are functioning or the information is transmitting between the neurons and in a spark of electricity is produced, we call it as
Mm.
action potential and there is a measure for it. So when that is happening rhythmically, that's fine. But sometimes out of the blue, they just, release or they just release a one at a time. And that is not taken by our body properly. So whenever that exchange of information, which happens with respect to electricity or measured in terms of action potential, that's how when you're moving your fingers or everything, it's happening from here. That's how the information is transmitted from the neurons to the rest of your body. But sometimes it happens at a force, so not at rhythm, and that's how your body starts vibrating. And there is
Okay.
catatonic to see, or your body becomes stiff, your tongue becomes stiff, and everything. And it happens for a period of time. And after that, the body is so tired because so much energy is released, and it's not
Okay.
released properly. So I'm trying to explain it to you in the layman terms. So that's how you see seizures or epilepsy. So it's like your neurons not working properly. They are very dysfunctional. The energy stimulation is not happening properly. It's happening at a time, tremendous amount of energy is released.
Okay. Yeah. So I have seen some patients like that, but I was always wondering what has happened to the person. So I got
Yeah,
little bit understanding,
yeah,
not much, but yeah. But thank you.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
So this might not be like Hanumanji is trying to explain that whatever we are going through, that it's not like a particular disease. See, this story is like general story. He wanted to convey the meaning underneath. For that, they say that human being understand things very nicely when you put it in terms of story. If I say that T timelines, this timelines, Shunya tunnel, nothing will go inside. So there should be a story for us to relate. And then underneath, when you take it, that's how your human mind is framed. If you don't tell things with terms of story, even though it might be a science class, or even Einstein himself, when he tries to explain about this space time or light travel or whatever it is, time travel or anything, he tries to explain, put it in terms of a story, and he tries to explain it, then we'll understand, we'll relate it properly.
Yeah.
So here Hanuman is trying to put it in a story, and giving underneath is trying to give the wisdom. So whatever you are going through in your life, when you take a pause and when you start accepting what has happened in your past, when you're ready to accept, and when you are able to do it, somewhere you are dropping your attachments to those things, you are letting loose of that energy, and see suddenly timeline shifts. It might have happened to many of you. When you are doing that act of forgiveness, or when you're trying to accept the things that have happened in your past, suddenly things change for you. The soul, I think, in your sleep or somewhere, we do astral travel every day in our sleep. Something has happened and you are shifting your timeline.
I have
So
experienced that shifting of timeline and
yeah,
like even in a wakeful state, but I have started noticing, yeah, just like meditation has increased that thing that I'm able to aware of it. Maybe it may
yeah,
be happening before, but now I'm understanding like it has changed.
yeah. So
Yeah.
every moment of our life, how we are thinking, how we are perceiving your reality, you're changing. The next moment, things are gonna change for you. So that's why they say that be in the present moment, don't get stuck in the past, because when you are in the present, you have ability to change your past also, because now you're analyzing your past, you're accepting that things that have happened in the past. So now the timeline is being shifted. You're changing yourself, you're changing the timeline, you're going to shift into another timeline where things are going to be different for you. You're no more vibrating at lower frequency, you have shifted yourself, you have let loose some beliefs, you have let loose your likes or dislikes, you started accepting things. So that's how you're doing your karma also, because we are simultaneously doing new karmas also, right? So your consequences will be different. So that's how Hanumanji is trying to explain that, see things like this. So even though if you want to manifest things, sometimes they say that manifestation, meditations and everything. So if you really want to manifest something, you wanted to do those things and you put enough energy, because they say that all your desires are there, all your desires are there in a timelines. All you need to do is that you need to manifest. You need to put energy to that. So when you are really working towards it, your soul gets shifted. You start living that timelines. People will be coming into your life, new things will be happening in your life. You don't know how things are happening, but you're meeting new people, or you're meeting right circumstances are coming to you, and that's how the life goes on. So that's why always Patri sir always says that if you really want to become a prime minister, you can become. There is a timeline where that is there. Are you putting energy to shift your soul from this timeline to that timeline? That depends on you.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, I completely believe that nothing is fixed. We can change with our every moment. We can change our future and our reality.
Yeah. That's how the manifestation process happens, and that's how Hanumanji is trying to shift here. With utmost devotion also. When things when we completely surrender ourselves to some things, or when we do things out of compassion, pure compassion, no, as how Chandra has done here. She didn't have any thought, nothing. She just did it. And see how Hanumanji is working left and right to help her. And that's how he will go to extremes to help her, because he can't let Chandra to go through that suffering and pain. So they say that if you're ready to take one step, the ascended beings are ready to take 100 steps for you. So it's all about you, how you are looking at this life and how you are doing things, how you are doing your karma yoga part specifically.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
I have one question, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am.
I am Dhanapedi. I am attending just 2 days to class.
Yeah,
attending, but I have question. Can I ask to you?
Oh, definitely, ma'am.
This is the nice story, but I have this is the maybe personal, maybe related to story. If you someone stuck in the past, any situation, how they will overcome that one?
Yeah.
In this story, you said nicely. Chandra, they not stuck anyone. They are not attached. They not make any attachments. That's they accepted the situation.
Okay.
If someone stuck in the same situation, maybe they are not coming out of the situation. How it going to choose which optional is?
So in this story which we are talking here, the story will go forward, because did you have you been listening from the beginning, ma'am?
Yes, I listened.
Yeah, so in the previous chapter, Urmi is going through some, I'll explain the later also. Here, I just wanted to bring that Urmi was going through some issue in her physical body. Okay. And here Hanumanji says that this is linked to one of your past lifetimes where you were stuck somewhere, where you have not accepted your situation and the karma and desire packet, or you have not let go of that energy. There was so much low vibrating energy. That soul has a soul, you got stuck with it. And now you are in this particular timeline, and now that thing has come into play. That energy is now coming into play, and you are suffering right now. Yes. So that will continue later part, what happened and where she was stuck. But in reality, what happens with us is that, see, I would, if anyone also wants to add upon it, do it. But in our lifetime, from the birth, forget about the previous lifetime, I don't know. But in this particular lifetime, for the birth to the point that we are in, there are many situations that we have gone through. We might be hurt where we hated people for various reasons, and our energy is always stuck there.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we need to understand here is that I'll tell you a simple concept, that this universal energy is always in vibrating in the frequency of love. There's only love, that's it. And that
Okay.
is unconditional love, not the love that we talk about. It's pure
Yes.
unconditional love, which I think I am also yet to experience it. I have not experienced it. So that energy, that frequency is very high. And that is the energy that you take and you manifest things in this reality. And if
Okay.
you're doing things in the same way, the energy is again given back to the universe. But if you are using that energy in a very distorted way, in a lower vibration, it will again come through you to go there. So it's
Okay.
your karma. I'm saying in you that way. You have to transmute that energy into higher vibration, into love. Then only it will go back to the universe. So if that is not happening, it is hitting you and it will manifest in different forms. Now, how is this happening? Because in your from the point of view as a child to this point, you might be hurt for various reasons. People might have hurt you, and you have hated those people, or situations would not have worked for you. You have so much jealousy, anger, all these emotions, 9 emotions which Hanumanji has taught previously, which are always vibrating in lower frequency, which attaches you to the other person. If you have not let go of them, if you have not relieved yourself from them, you are energetically connected to them. And somewhere you'll be whatever the karma parts get transferred from you to them. That's what he says. But I would say here is that you're not relieving yourself. You're still carrying that thing with you. The person has gone. He's living his own life. He's happy, or he might not be happy. But for you, you're still carrying that same thing and you're worrying day in and day out. You have not relieved yourself out of that energy. But once you sit, you understand, or you bring this understanding that it's not about them. Of course, they have come and they have done this situation. But what am I doing for myself? I am still hurting myself. What is the good
Yes,
that I
yes.
have done to
Yeah,
myself?
situation happens once in life, but
Yeah.
we are hurting ourselves many times.
For so many years, you are building,
yes,
building.
yes.
What is the good? The other person has hurt you, but what are you doing for yourself? You are hurting yourself more. He or she has hurt you once,
Yes,
but you are hurting yourself since last 20 years.
yes, yes.
So you need to see. So once you understand that I can change myself, I can be happy no matter what the other person is going to do to me. Of course, you have to embrace that emotion. Of course, whatever emotion is coming at that point of time, the person might speak something, you will feel an emotion, but you have to live and embrace that emotion. But that's it. After that, just leave it. Just move on from there. Because Hanumanji here is telling that you are living a character. Don't attach yourself. After this, you'll go into another body. So why are you attaching yourself?
Okay, okay. That is Krishna says you can detach the karma.
Yes.
Attach the action, detach the
Yeah.
karma.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what he's telling. Don't get attached to the whatever you're doing. Don't feel that I am doing it. You are here. The scene is running. If you live, he goes in depth to say that, see, this timeline of Ravali's happened there. He says in that whatever the inner world, he's seeing the timeline of me, my Ravali, from birth to the moment that I leave the body is entirely there. So the soul is entering into this timeline, living the soul of Ravali, entire character of Ravali, and it can come out of it. It can detach itself and come out of it. But once it gets attached, it will again go and carry more karma and desire again, one more lifetime and anything. So he says that many souls will come and live the character of Ravali, not you alone. You need to understand that. This is just a movie running there, and as a soul, you are living it. So don't attach yourself to this character called Ravli. So detach yourself. Just do whatever you can do in this character called Ravli. Do it. Enjoy the experience. Live through it. But always be detached. Check yourself. So that's what he was trying to tell. So all your emotions, your attachments, when do this come? When you're attaching your ego to the external reality, right? Oh, they have hurt me. How can they do this?
When our ego touches the feeling, the situation, it wants.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it not wants. If you any person soul will touches the situation, that it
Mm.
won't. If you're not taking own process,
Mm.
it just you can go like smooth water, like.
Yeah.
Now I understood.
Yeah.
Sometimes we are confusing our brain, right? Sometimes someone explains so we can understand well.
Yeah. Thank you. Beautifully put. Done.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Masters, anything you want to share with respect to today's discussion, please do.
Lovely, ma'am. This is Blossom.
Yeah, Blossom, ma'am.
So I want to understand one thing. When Chandrika was there and her kid was on the bed, and Hanuman saw three timelines. Okay, so my question is, what he was saying when Kal was saying, okay, so there is a timeline where Hanuman wants to give a soul of monk to the kid, right? And he is coming on time within 6 hours of the time period.
Yeah.
And Carl also said, okay, he is seeing one more timeline where he got delay and something happened to the son and Chandrika is in big pain.
Mm.
So when they were talking about the timeline, they were talking about the different possibilities, right?
Yes.
So it
Yes.
means possibilities in a sense like it depends upon other person's action. If that person takes that action, then this will happen.
Mm.
I'm just trying to understand that part because this is about the possibility, right? How
Yeah.
come they were seeing all three scenarios at the same time?
Mm. So that's what they say, that when you see the inner world from fifth dimension, so there are all infinite probabilities that can happen. So Hanuman is just checking a probability where he could see that the boy is alive and Chandra is having a happy moment. And for that to happen, he checks one of the time. There are infinite timelines happening. There are many other timelines that are happening. Here, Hanumanji gives two timelines where he says that in one of the timeline, a monk is there nearby, and there is a possibility that he can arrive there. And with his compassion, the soul of the monk can enter into the soul of the into the body of the boy. And there
But
is another timeline where Kala says that it might not happen. So Hanumanji says that, why are you saying that? Let us work that we'll do our best, that we'll shift this soul of this Chandra to that timeline. Let us see that if we can do it. So
so
how
it means there are like different scenarios depends
there
upon the
are infinite scenarios, not one, two.
and all infinite scenarios depend upon other person's action.
Yes, your action, other person's actions, there's so many characters involved. So that's what I'm saying. When I gave you an example of Everything Everywhere, that movie, there are so many universes, so many things are happening. In one of the universes, Blossom ma'am, you might be president or prime minister, you don't know.
Wow.
Seriously, so there are different timelines and your character is living all possible variations, and
Right.
different souls are living in that variations. Now, right now, you are living in this timeline. So if you
Oh,
want to manifest something, you can shift your timeline. That's what Hanumanji is trying to explain under this soul, that you're not stuck with your reality. You can shift your reality if you want.
so it's just like a daydreaming. Sometimes people do daydreaming, right? And they
Yeah.
think they are not in, they are on the earth, but they are thinking like, okay, they went for skiing or they got some award. In the second timeline, they have some different desires. So that's
Yeah,
like different
every
time.
desire of yours is happening in some universe.
Oh, okay, and that's called
So
manifestation.
if as a soul you want to experience, you need to
Mm.
shift yourself into that timeline. For that, you need to work. That karma part needs to be done. It depends again on your karma and desire, right? If you're, that's
Right.
what he says, that if you're not having the right karma and desire, you can't enter into the tunnel that you're desiring. So for
Mhm.
that, you need to do right actions. You should have desires are okay, because we all have many desired as a children, right? You wanted to buy a house, you wanted to have a car. Many of our desires are fulfilled because we have worked accordingly. We have done the actions accordingly. But many of them are not fulfilled. Why? Because our karma and desire packets are not aligning to those timelines. So if you really want to manifest or you want to live whatever you want, then you need to work accordingly. And that does
So
not mean that,
yeah,
yeah.
so it means I'm just I'll say you what I understood. So it means, suppose if a person wants a car, that's
Mm.
one time. If they want a house, that's another timeline. If
Yeah.
they want boat, that's another timeline. But it depends upon our karma, how much efforts we have put. But
Yes.
we are in those three infinite timelines,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and those things were happening at one level, whatever we are thinking, whatever desires or
Yeah.
what dreams we have. But it depends upon our karma, how much efforts we are putting to make it happen.
Yes. 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 Just as
God.
we do the manifestation thing, right? They
Yeah.
say that all your things are there, all your timelines are there. All you need to do is that match it.
Hmm.
Just match those frequencies and it will manifest in your life.
Yeah. Thank you so
That's what
much.
Hanumanji is trying to explain. Don't feel that you are feeling, you are trying to feel stuck here. He's giving a story here. Don't take it like literally, but he's trying to explain here that you're not stuck in the timeline that you are in. If you want to have it, because right now Chandra is also not trying to, she's having a lot of pain and she's really worried. But at the same time, she's not putting her thought towards that. She's trying to deviate herself. So all these things are working in the background. So there are many things that are at work. But for you, if you really want to manifest things, you need to match that frequency, do your karma accordingly, change your karma and desire clothing, and then you'll enter into the tunnel, whichever you want.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, Babita.
Hello. Yeah. When there was a possibility that the monk is reaching the place.
Yeah.
So this was the future that Hanuman saw. So how can it be the other way that the monk is not reaching?
That's what I told there are multiple timelines. In one of the timeline, the monk is sitting in the chair, one of the tree, one of the timeline, the monk is moving. So there are multiple timelines. All Hanuman needs to do is that find that perfect timeline and shift the soul from this timeline to that timeline. Because as I told you that from fifth dimension, there is no past, present, and future. All they see is timelines, like a movie. And there are multiple of them running. So what Hanumanji is just checking is that he's checking a timeline where the monk is reaching. That's why Kala also says that, you are telling me that there is a timeline, but you also need to see that there's another timeline the monk is not reaching. So we don't know how the soul is going to shift, all things are going to align properly, everything. That we'll discuss in the next session, how, till the last moment, you never know how the things are going to happen. And how Hanumanji makes the shift of the soul from this timeline to the perfect or whatever the timeline he thought, where the boy is alive and the monk has reached.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks. Got it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ashok sir, shall we take the meditation or it's already a little late today? Okay. Yeah, masters, will sit for 5 minutes of meditation. I know it's a little late. So yeah, the moral of story today is that do your karma yoga part. Exactly what the karma yoga defines, that do your actions, don't attach yourself to the character or the consequences of your actions. Just do your 100% for whatever it is. Enjoy your work, whatever you're doing, you're washing clothes, you're washing dishes or whatever, because you need to understand that your soul has come into this personality called whatever it might be, Jaya ma'am, Disha ma'am, Naina ma'am, or anything. And it's trying to go through that experience. So live that experience to the fullest. So don't feel that you are not, things are not happening properly for you. If you really want to manifest things, you need to, the soul will shift its timeline. It might be shifting its timeline and some other soul will come and live this timeline. So it's little difficult to understand like what is this, like many souls coming and living this timeline. But the underlying essence here is that do your karma yoga part. Make sure that whatever the karma that you're doing in the present moment, do it in a way so that your next lifetime becomes easy for you to reach the salvation. So whatever it is, it will help you in that process. So don't attach yourself to the things, just do your karma yoga part. So it's very easy to say, but when we live in awareness, it will really help us to continue with it. Yeah. So master, just sit in the most comfortable position. Close your eyes. Just take a couple of deep inhalations and exhalations. Breathe in, fill your lungs, and slowly breathe out. One more deep inhalation. Expand your lungs. Breathe in and breathe out. One more deep inhalation. Breathe in. Expand your lungs and breathe out. We have heard a beautiful wisdom today. So there might be a lot of emotions that have been popped up. So just settle down, detach yourself for some time, enjoy your journey to that nothingness. Close your eyes, crisscross your fingers, interlock your fingers, crisscross your legs, and start observing your breath. Let us be in that state of silencing our mind. And start observing your in-breath and your out-breath. Just be with your breath. Be connected to your inner world, your higher self. It is your torch that is showing you the path, helping you. It is your guru. Your soul has come into this timeline, in this character of yours, wearing the Sanchita Karma, the Prarabdha that you have carried into this timeline. And you're simultaneously using your free will to create new karmas, new actions, and the consequences of those actions are yet waiting for you to be experienced. And we have our hopes, our desires, our dreams. We are in this whirlpool, and it is your guru, it is your breath that will take you back to your higher self, your nothingness, the state from which you can choose your reality. Just connect to your guru through your breath. Be with yourself, be with your breath.